Hello, world, and welcome to the Quick Kick Picks presented by Bros Talking Soccer. My name is Dave Knittel, here with my brother Christian. It is MLS Match Week 31, last MLS Match Week of the regular season. Decision day. That's what I'm trying to say. Christian, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. It's just always great comedy when you can't say MLS or decision in the opening.
My words are coming out so good today. That's a great sign for this video is your phone near the mic, Christian?
Not really, but I can move it.
Okay. Yes. Let me move mine away too. So maybe it was me. All right. But we are going to be not recapping. We're going to be previewing the 12 MLS games happening on Sunday, all occurring at the same time. Sunday, October 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also going to mix things up a little bit. We haven't exactly decided what we're going to do, but we're going to be changing up our Quick Kick Picks game this month. I don't know exactly what we're going to do, if it's going to be a weekly thing or what the prizes are going to be, but still, send us your score predictions and we'll figure out what the heck we're doing. So make sure you send those to us at BT Soccer Pod, and then we'll figure out how we want to score, if we mix up the prizes and all of that. Christian, anything you want to add on that front?
Nope.
Next thing, we restrict ourselves to 2 minutes and 5 seconds per match. So I have a little timer here. It's going to whistle when our time is up for the game. The reason we do that is Twitter restricts us to 2 minutes and 20 seconds per video, and we cut this long video on YouTube up into individual little videos on Twitter, and that is why. So if you hear a whistle, don't be alarmed. That is from us, and that's why we restrict ourselves to 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Additionally, if you leave comments, hello, Mr. Brozilla. I already see you left a comment here, so welcome. Appreciate you joining us. If you leave a comment while we're talking here, I see it. I'm not ignoring it completely. I'm going to have to ignore it when we're in the flow and talking about a specific game, but I will circle back on it at the end of the video. Christian, anything else you would like to add before we get going here?
Nope.
Let's do it. Kicking, can you please post your predictions up here? Hold up. Brozilla, I don't know what that means. So we talk about our predictions here. You can also post your predictions here if you would like. We prefer them on Twitter, but you can post your predictions here. I think that's what you mean.
Maybe he meant can I.
Can you? What? We both talked about it.
Him specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, you can post them and yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Kicking things off, Atlanta United versus the New England Revolution, Sunday, October 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Christian, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
Well, this is an interesting one because New England could still move up in the rankings and shake up who's playing who, but Atlanta are going for a second home game if they possibly win this one, and I think that Atlanta is just going to be up for it at home. New England have sealed their spot in the playoffs already. I think that the Red Bulls and DC ahead of them, yes, they can drop points, or Toronto, I guess, too. I guess DC is too far away. But the Red Bulls and Toronto could drop points, and New England can jump up there, but they can really only jump up into sixth place at the moment. So they're really not playing for that much, other than possibly playing Atlanta again is an opportunity. So I think that, or avoiding playing Atlanta again, because if Atlanta does win this one, they will be playing New England in this next game at the same location. So yeah. I think that New England does want to avoid that, but Atlanta are just too good at home. They've been defensively pretty sound, and I expect them to be up for this one and win this game. I'm going to go with a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point there, because even if New England wins this and Philadelphia wins, that'll likely knock Atlanta back, and then New England would have to play them again, and then if they lose, in all likelihood, they'll have to play Atlanta anyways. So, yeah, that's a really interesting conundrum for the New England Revolution. Having said all of that, New England, I think they have something like 1, maybe 2 wins over their last 8 or 9 matches, maybe 10 matches. So they're not in the greatest run of form. They're not losing a lot, but they're drawing a lot of matches. Atlanta hasn't looked the same without Joseph Martinez. He may be back for this. I think it would be ridiculous of Atlanta to play. We're recording before lineups are out, and even without Joseph Martinez in this one, I think Atlanta has enough, especially at home. They've been one of the best MLS sides in the league at home, one of the best defensive records. New England maybe gets a goal, but I think Atlanta wins this one 3-1. Did you give a score?
Yeah, 2-0.
2-0. All right, so that's what we think is going to happen here. There it is. All right, getting to our next game, we have DC United hosting the Cincinnati FC Cincinnati, not the FC Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati, again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. All the games are happening at the same time. DC, they are currently in fourth. They're in the driver's seat to maintaining fourth place in the East. FC Cincinnati is the worst team in the league. They're at the bottom of the conference, bottom of the league. If DC loses this game, it would be an absolute travesty from them. They're not going to have Wayne Rooney, and he'll be a big loss. I believe he's suspended for this one, but they still have enough talent, enough quality, especially at home, especially with what's at stake for them to get a win here. I expect them to cruise in this one, maybe 3-0. What do you expect?
I think my team might have enough quality to win this one, but I think that DC definitely. I don't think so either. But it was just a slap in the face to FC Cincinnati there. I think DC are clearly the more talented team, and like you said, even without Rooney, who is a big focal point in their attack, and a lot of their attacking creative chances come through him, I still think that they have enough to get the job done at home. FC Cincinnati have just been abysmal this season, and I don't expect it to get any better in the last game of the year. DC want to avoid any slip-ups that could potentially send them down into sixth place if they lose in Toronto and the Red Bulls, just their results line up the way that they could potentially go. I think that this is a huge game for DC to announce their intentions maybe here, or show their intentions going into the playoffs and get a big win at home, make it a fortress, because actually, are they going to have a home? Yeah, they would have a home game here. So this is a big game for them. And I think, did I say a score? I don't think I did I?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm going to go with a 4-0 big win here.
Okay, so we both have big DC wins. They went through a huge sort of just nothing really happening from May until August. They have started to put together a decent run of form. I'm talking about DC here, and they're getting a little bit of momentum heading towards the playoffs. They're not playing the most attractive soccer, but they're getting results, and this time of year, that's all that matters. So DC wins 3-0 from me. Christian, anything else?
Nope.
Next game we have... Let me start that timer. Next game, we have FC Dallas hosting Sporting Kansas City again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, October 6th. Christian, what are you expecting to happen?
Well, FC Dallas need to win this game. Absolutely. Sporting Kansas City are out of the playoffs. It doesn't really matter to them at this point. This is a huge game because FC Dallas could potentially fall all the way to ninth place with a loss here, considering Colorado, shockingly, are still in the race somehow, and San Jose are right on the tail of FC Dallas. If FC Dallas lose this game and San Jose tie, San Jose even gets in. So Dallas absolutely need to win this game. They are a better team right now than SKC. They haven't had the best run of form, but I think still at home, they have their crowd behind them. They're going to need to be up for this game. Going into the playoffs, they have to get this result. They could potentially jump up into sixth place, which, I mean, is really a toss-up of who you play. It doesn't really matter at this point, but you want to have good momentum going into the playoffs, and I think that they do get this job done. It's going to be tight, but I'm going with a 2-1 victory for Dallas here.
Yeah, so I was just pulling up the form table here. Dallas hasn't won in their last 4 matches. SKC hasn't won in at least their last 5 and possibly more. So neither of these teams are really in a great run of form. Having said that, SKC is coming off a draw, whereas Dallas is coming off of a loss. So SKC's got a little bit more momentum, but Dallas has been... they've been okay at home to slightly good. SKC hasn't been fantastic on the road because no one's really great on the road in MLS. I'm going to give the bonus and the boost to Dallas here. I don't have a ton of confidence in this game, and I could definitely see it ending up as something like a 2-2, but I like what FC Dallas is doing. I like what they've built, and I think that they ultimately pull it out in a tight 2-1 victory. Christian, I know you said a score, but I wasn't completely listening. What was the score you said?
It was 2-1 for Dallas.
It was 2-1 for Dallas? Okay, so we're in agreement on that one. Anything else you would like to add?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. And whistle. There it is. A little bit of a delay there. All right. Next game, we have the Houston Dynamo hosting the Los Angeles Galaxy again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Houston's already been eliminated from the playoffs, whereas the Galaxy inexplicably lost 4-3 at home to Vancouver last time out. That dropped them down to 4th in the conference when they were kind of in pole position to end up in 2nd in the conference. I have no idea what the hell this LA Galaxy team is going to do. It's going to be DeMarcus Beasley's last match ever in all likelihood, and so that'll be an interesting sort of dynamic to this game. Hopefully he gets a lot of playing time. We're recording before lineups come out. Zlatan needs to step up. But having said that, I think the Galaxy at this point, they get up for the games that they need to get up for, and the rest of the time, they don't seem to really be interested. And so for that reason, I don't know how much they're going to care about this. I think they're already looking towards the playoffs, and I could see them sort of coasting in this one, and this ending up as like a somewhat boring 1-1 game. Christian, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know what the hell the Galaxy are doing anymore. They have been terrible at times, and like you said, they were in pole position to finish second in the West and have 2 home games. Now they're in a position where they might have no home games if they lose this game and RSL are able to get a result. And so I don't know what to predict with this team. They're so inconsistent. And like you said, they're up for the games that matter. This one does matter, though, because you are playing for a home game, and that makes a big difference in MLS, in any competition, really, with soccer. So I think that this is going to eventually, I think I'm going to give the edge to LA Galaxy just because they are able to grind out results when absolutely necessary. Houston have just been terrible in the second half of this year, and not that they were great in the first half, but they've been absolutely horrible. I think the Galaxy end up winning this game. I'm going to go with a 3-1 clinching goal, probably late win on the road.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Galaxy are more talented in attack, whereas defensively, I think they have gaps, and so that's why I think they ultimately concede a goal here, and it ends up 1-1. Ignore me and the fact that I can't speak.
At the end, no.
Next game, we're talking about LAFC hosting the Colorado Rapids in a game that still has significance for both teams. Christian, what do you think is going to happen?
Sorry. I missed. It's the Colorado
LAFC
Rapids.
versus Rapids.
Okay. So LAFC, this doesn't matter at all, and
they could become the all-time points record.
Oh well, yeah, but it doesn't matter really. I mean, they're going for an all-time record, but in terms of the table, in terms of the quality of the team, they're going to have every game at home as long as they keep going in the playoffs. I think that it is important to just push for the records, but it's not absolutely necessary. They're playing against a team that is fighting for playoffs now, and they're absolutely going to want to win this game. I just can't see it going their way this time around. I gotta say, LAFC at home are too good, and it's just unfortunate for Colorado because they started so poorly. Yes, they've been able to turn it around a little bit in the second half of the year, but they're not going to be able to grind this result out. I think LAFC, even though they lost at home to Minnesota recently, they haven't looked really, really great in these last 5 games or so. They have been able to win a couple of them, but they don't look like the team they were early on. I think that this is going to be an LAFC win, and probably a tight one because Colorado were fighting for their playoff lives in the 2-1 victory for LAFC.
See, I have it going the other way in that I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I think LAFC being motivated by that points record, by the fact that Carlos Vela can break the all-time single-season scoring record as well, and the fact that Colorado hasn't exactly been a stout defensive side, I have this being a wide-open game and ending up something like a 4-2. Colorado is very talented in attack. LAFC is clearly talented all over the pitch, and I think Colorado gets a couple goals, but just LAFC overpowers them and ultimately scores 4 goals, with Bella getting at least a brace, if not more. And so that's kind of the way I see all of this shaking out, and I do think LAFC does still have something to play for. Anything else?
Nope.
Next game, we have the Montreal Impact hosting the New York Red Bulls on Sunday, October 6th. At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Montreal has been officially eliminated from the playoffs, whereas the Red Bulls are in 5th. They can drop as low as 7th, depending on if – no, they can't. They can't drop to 7th because of the wins as the tiebreaker. So they are going to end up in either 4th, 5th, or 6th. They're going to be motivated to get that win and hopefully put some pressure on DC to get a win because they want to get a home match in the first round of the playoffs. Montreal, meanwhile, they've been really, really tough to read. Haven't won in their last 4 matches, 3 losses and a draw. Draw was the most recent one. They had a bunch of home games stacked up at the back half of their schedule, and I thought they were going to turn things around and really start to kick on and push into the playoffs. That simply hasn't happened. Wilmer Cabrera is up there. I don't know if he's going to be there into next season. This is going to be a really sort of weird vibe to this game, and I think the Red Bulls are able to get a 2-1 result on the road in this one. Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, I just haven't been really confident in the Red Bulls. Sometimes they're up for games, and sometimes they just do not look good. They're not the same team that we saw the past couple of seasons where they were fighting for the supporter shield. I think that this is going to be a draw probably on the road for them. I think Montreal have been good enough at home. They haven't really had a great season overall. They probably have been one of the most inconsistent teams that we've seen in MLS this season because they can absolutely dominate games and win big, and then they'll just have absolutely shocking performances even at home. So I think maybe because they're already out of the playoffs, they might be a little bit down, but I expect them, with this being their last home game of the season, to be up for the fans are obviously going to be up for it, and I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw in this match.
Yeah, and I know a lot of times we talk about teams sort of like mailing it in once they've been eliminated, and then other teams are going to be fighting. I think some of these teams are going to be fighting. Montreal just strikes me as a team that isn't going to be fighting quite as much. I feel like the season is just sort of petered out for them, and they're ready to just sort of move on with things. So that's why I think the Red Bulls get a win. Anything else?
Nope.
Next game, we have Orlando City SC hosting the Chicago Fire at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. They're all taking place at the same time. Christian, what do you think is going to happen?
I think that this is going to be a confusing game that no one really knows what's going to happen. Nobody is playing for anything in this game. Orlando's playing to maybe jump up above the Fire at this point. The Fire are trying to finish the highest of all of the non-playoff teams, which is obviously quite the prestigious award that they can win. I think this one is going to be pretty boring. I don't expect a lot of goals, even though it could end up going that way. I think that both teams will probably just be lazy. They're not really playing for much at this point, and I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw here.
I could see that. And again, Orlando has been relatively good defensively, I believe, at home. I mean, they're not fantastic, but they're not giving up tons and tons of goals, and Chicago is not the greatest on the road. Now, having said that, and maybe it's just me hoping for the best, I think it's going to be like a 3-3. It's fun. Both these teams have a lot to play for because they both had a lot of hopes coming into the season. They have expensive players on their roster, and they simply didn't live up to those expectations. I think players are going to have to prove something moving forward. Chicago's got the whole thing where they might be rebranded. They're moving into the city. Orlando, they have made the playoffs ever in their history, and I think they'll both be motivated. They're going to want to put on a show, and both these sides have attacking talent. And so I'm hoping that it comes out here and that this one ends up 3-3. Christian, anything else you would like to add?
I could see it going that way. It's going to be one or the other, but I just lean on the side of them kind of being lazy and just seeing out the season, not risking their injuries or anything.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially with the international break coming up. I don't know how many players are going to be with their national teams from either of these teams. But I don't know, maybe some of the players are looking forward to that. Neither of these sides have won in their last 2 matches, at least. The Fire have 1 win in their last 5. Orlando has no wins in their last 5. And so, they're not in the greatest run of form, but I'm hopeful that it's at least somewhat entertaining because there's nothing else to play for. Make it entertaining. Next game, we have the Philadelphia Union hosting NYC FC in a game that I will be at with you, Christian. I am excited to go. Unfortunately, it's not for first place in the East, but it still should be an entertaining game. Is it me going first? I think it is. Yes. Okay. So New York really doesn't have much to play for, but with them having a bye in the first round and it coming off of the international break, I don't expect them to rest too many players. I know that they're dealing with some players banged up and some injuries, so I wouldn't be shocked to see a little bit of lineup rotation, but I don't expect to see a full second team or anything like that. The Union, meanwhile, they're going to be without Alejandro Bedoya in all likelihood. I know he may be back for this. I think it would be dumb of them to play him and risk his injury before the playoffs. They can come in second or third in the East. They're going to be coming out strong. Bedoya is the only one that is going to be out. I expect Marco Fabian. We're recording before the lineups are announced, but I expect Marco Fabian to be in the lineup. It's going to be really interesting to see how he plays. I don't think he's been the greatest over really his entire time here, but specifically over the last few months. He needs to step up here. He needs to get them a goal, and I expect Philly to really roar on and go into the playoffs with some momentum. 3-1 to the Union. Christian, what are you expecting?
Yeah, Philly have been really, really good at home this year, and I expect that to continue. They had an absolute shocker on the road against Columbus. I think the weather delay may have broken some of that rhythm. Bedoya's injury broke some of that rhythm. But I still just you need to be up for those types of games. They're really tough. There was a lot of travel last week, but still, you have to win those games. And now they're in a position where they were looking at playing for first in the East this week. Now they're looking at probably finishing third, because we both predicted Atlanta are going to win that game in Atlanta. So I think that the Union kind of are looking and hoping that they'll finish second, get a potential second game at home if they advance through the first round. But I just don't see it happening. I think that they're going to win this game. I think that NYC FC are going to rotate maybe more than you think that they are, just because if people do have knocks, it's not worth risking them before the playoffs. So I'm expecting the Union to win this game. I'm going to go with a 2-0 scoreline. I don't think NYC are going to have a lot of their attacking talent.
All right. Next game we're talking about, and this is the game that I think is going to be the most entertaining. So if you're a neutral, this is the game you want to watch. Portland Timbers versus the San Jose Earthquakes. Neither of them are coming in great form, but it still has a ton on the line. Christian, what are you expecting to happen?
This is a potential playoff decider game. So this is a very, very interesting one. Assuming FC Dallas win their game, this is for the last spot. So Portland at home, I just expect them to be up for this a little bit more. San Jose have been...
I feel like we say that every week about Portland, and
You're
they
right.
haven't been.
They've been terrible at home, but this is the last game of the season for them, and this is it. This decides whether they're going to the playoffs or not. Yes, they could potentially draw, or could they lose? Yeah, they could lose too if FC Dallas don't win. So I think that they absolutely are going to be looking at this game saying, okay, our home fans are behind us. We have to get this right. We have to start to get these results together. And going into the playoffs, we need some momentum. San Jose have been a decent side this year. On the road, they have not looked that great, but they've been very good at home. So they're going to want that. I don't know. They haven't been great at home. They've been good at home. And I think Portland at home, I expect them to win this. And I think it's going to be a really tight game, obviously, because it's a playoff race, and they're going to go 2-1.
2-1 for Portland. Okay. I mean, San Jose, they were terrible at home to start the year. They were pretty good to really good at home in the middle part of the year. And then they've, for some reason, fallen off yet again at home, losing to the Union and the Sounders. But this one's on the road for them. Their style doesn't really adjust much when they're on the road versus at home. They still take a ton of shots. They still play their man marking system. They got a little drama with Matias Almeida potentially leaving as manager, and the Earthquakes say he's not leaving. I don't know what the heck's going to happen in this game, but I think it's going to be entertaining. I kind of want the Earthquakes to do it because I think it would be a ridiculous story, and I really find the way that they play entertaining and just really different than anyone else. And so I'm going to call a shock upset and have the Earthquakes win 2-1 on the road, and they sneak that last playoff spot, and it's a huge disappointment from the Timbers fans. So that's what I'm calling for. Anything else?
That would be shocking considering Portland had a lot of home games at the end of the year.
Yeah, it really would be, but they've just fallen off, and they're not scoring. Next game, we have the Seattle Sounders hosting Minnesota United, again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, October 6th. So the Sounders been very good at home, been not very good on the road. This one is taking place at home for them. This is a battle for second in the Western Conference and basically home seeding until the... What's it called?
Western Conference Final.
Until the Western Conference Final. Yes, thank you. And also, depending on how the Union and Atlanta do, this might have Champions League implications because LAFC has already won the West, NYCFC has won the East, and with Atlanta winning the Open Cup, whoever finishes fourth in the table might get a Champions League berth. So both these teams have a lot to play for. I think Minnesota is going to be really, really amped up for this game. They're going to be tough to battle against. Seattle, though, at home, I'm going to give them the ever so slight edge here and have them get a 2-1 victory. Christian, what are you expecting?
We've seen Minnesota win in LA and a shock victory. So I'm honestly thinking that they could do it again. I think that this isn't going to be a win, but I expect them to get a draw in this game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I expect a lot of entertainment in this game. This and the Portland game that we touched on earlier are the two probably highlight games of the week. And I think this one is going to probably be the best soccer to watch. So definitely tune into this game. I think the Sounders at home will have their fans behind them. They'll get a result, but Minnesota just have really impressed me this season and beat a lot of my expectations. And I think a lot of people's expectations in terms of where they'll finish. So even a loss here for one of these teams could potentially see them drop out like altogether. And if LA or a draw here could see LA finish second. So both teams don't really want to draw because LA could jump them, which would be just incredible to see. But I expect Minnesota. Yeah, I expect it to be a draw, shockingly, and both of these teams drop out.
When you say drop out, they're not dropping out of the playoffs.
No,
they're just
dropping
back
out of second place. Both teams will drop out of second place.
Okay, that's a really weird way to phrase it, but okay. What's the score?
2-2.
2-2 draw. All right.
Well, second is a huge thing.
Second to last game we were talking about here, Toronto FC is hosting Columbus at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Christian, what do you expect them to happen in this game?
I expect Toronto to win this game just because they are at home, because home is everything, apparently. That's what we're going to talk about in every one of these games. So Toronto, I expect to obviously have the talent in this game, beat Columbus. Yes, because Columbus have been absolutely atrocious on the road. At home, they obviously beat the Union last week, and they have a little bit of form. They haven't lost in a couple of weeks now, but I just expect them to fall short here because Toronto are playing for something. Columbus have nothing to play for. They're on the road. Toronto's last home game of the year, potential to move up and finish in a home playoff spot as well if they win this game. So I expect them to be up for it and to be a convincing victory and to send some shivers down the spines of a lot of their opposition in the playoffs here with a 3-0 victory at home.
All right. Columbus actually hasn't been that poor on the road. So they're a pretty good roadside. And also they've been on a very good run of form here heading into the last weeks of the season. Unfortunately, it's a little too late for them. But, I mean, we already saw it with the Union. They were eliminated, but they still came out. They fought hard, and they got that result. They're going to be no pushover here. Having said that, Toronto is really starting to put together a run. I don't even remember when the last time they lost was. They have the talent. They really scare me heading into the Eastern Conference playoffs, and I want, as a Union fan, to avoid them at all costs because I really think they're going to start putting together a decent run. I know I was just hyping up Columbus as not being that poor on the road, but I just think Toronto, they have the talent. They have the players who have been there before. A lot of these players won MLS Cup a few years ago, and I think all of that experience is really starting to kick in here, and I expect them to get a 3-1 result at home. Christian, anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I just can't see Columbus scoring, even though they looked pretty good against the Union. I think this is a different level, honestly. I think the Union are a talented squad, but Toronto's form right now and the talent that they can put on the field is a scary thought, really.
All right, final game we are talking about. Vancouver Whitecaps are hosting Real Salt Lake at the same time as every other single game we've talked about so far, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, October 6th. Vancouver, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. So they've been terrible all year, at least attacking-wise. They've been one of the lowest-scoring teams, if not the lowest-scoring team in the league. And then they go to the Galaxy on the road, score 4 goals, and win that game 4-3. So who knows? RSL has not been a good road side here. Vancouver hasn't been a good home side. I don't really know what's going to happen. RSL clearly is fighting for a home playoff game. They can get as high as 4th in the Western Conference, I guess technically they could get 3rd depending on if results go their way, but they want to win this game. They're going to be coming out strong. I think at the end of the day, they are more talented than Vancouver, but it's always tough to travel in MLS. And I think the Whitecaps are not going to roll over, and this one ultimately ends up as a 2-2 draw. Christian, what do you expect then?
I expect that Real Salt Lake wins this game. They've been really, really good at home. Vancouver have been so far this year. Obviously, they've been pretty bad, and they're probably Are they officially finishing last? Yep, they're officially last in the West. Yes, and they just obviously give you hope with that LA Galaxy game, but LA Galaxy, honestly, at times have just been really, really bad, and the Galaxy's defense is shocking. It really, really is for a team that possesses their attacking weapons. They really rely on goals because the defense cannot keep them in games. So I expect this one to go the way of RSL. I expect them to get a couple goals and just grind out that result. I think it won't be enough for them to get a home playoff game because the other results will not go their way, but they'll still have the momentum going into the playoffs here. And I expect it to probably end in a tight 3-2 victory.
All right, so you have Vancouver scoring 2 goals and RSL getting 3 on the road?
Yep.
All right, interesting. So we'll see what happens on that game. And that is it That is the MLS Quick Kick picks for the regular season. We have been Bros Talking Soccer. Mr. Brozilla, if you want to elaborate on whatever that comment was, can you please post your predictions up here? I don't know what that means. So if you want to let us know before we completely wrap up here. But Christian and I are going to be together. We're going to be at the Union game. I am super pumped about that one. Christian, you're going to see the Joker right now. Anything else you would like to add before we close out as I try to stall for Mr. Brozilla to respond?
No, I think all I want to say, Dave, is let's go get some matches played.
See you, everyone.